take a breather, get ready. Tom Shayam again goes first with a pretty decent score, whoever that is. Shout out.
And high pressure for him.
Yeah, the spot is under the gun versus cutoff, single raise spot, 40 big blinds. I don't know about you, Julian. I feel like you could be someone who has seen a lot of aggregation reports and sims in general on cold call spots. I myself am pretty bad at those.
Yeah, but they are not so frequent, so it's okay to be bad at those.
Fair, but yeah, I'm expecting you to carry this one.
Okay.
Because I might fail, but let's see. Maybe I won't. What is under the gun's opening range with 60 big blinds? Should I zoom in or can you see it?
Yeah, I should be able to.
I'm just gonna zoom in for us 1 second so we can do it a bit better.
The old guy needs some glasses, huh?
Yeah,
we can improve this with the overlay that you zoom in.
it should be the right one.
I think 10-8 suited is definitely pure. I'm a bit hesitant on pocket 3's opening pure, but I guess 60 big blinds is.
Oh, but ace. Is that ace?
Yeah, ace 9 is a bit too wide, right? And then
King 10 off is pure, I know that, and it's the only range where it's purely open, so it should be the right one.
Do you think it's pure under the gun, 60 big blinds, King 10 off?
I know.
I think it could be the left one over here. Ace 10 off is not pure though, which kind of freaks me out.
And it doesn't have queen.
I definitely want 10-8 suited pure. I'm gonna go with it's the middle one. 10-8 suited is not pure.
Wow.
Even ace 10 off.
We don't even know how.
Surprised how much you want to open for under the gun.
Oh, it even has deuces in there. Okay, we could. I was gonna say like deuces.
They all have.
Okay, at a frequency, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On the right. Yeah. Deuces is not for frequency UTG. I did know that, but I thought King 10 was pure King 10.
But it's actually pretty good that you don't see the numbers, because this would have probably, because we all know that it's 15, 16, 70% from under the gun. That's what we typically play. And 19, 20% is probably really loose. So
I just somebody flamed me in a review the other day that I didn't open King 10 off UTG, but I think it was with 40 BB, right? With 40 BB, I think it's pure or something.
It starts opening more with like 30, 40.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But
you basically start pure folding the 6-5, 7-6 suited, 7-8 suited. You fold more the 10-8 suited, and then you start opening Queen Jack.
Yeah, this is the one that freaked me out the most. Like I'm snap opening 10-8 suited here every single time.
But I would have also expected that King Jack off is full frequency open.
Yeah, me too. But no,
can you go on the top left?
What is you mean here?
Click on this. Then on the below history. Below. No.
Oh,
yeah,
below history.
You can enter. We can start because it's just the first question.
Okay.
Range viewer. Can you click on under the gun? What is it? Pure under the gun? It's pure under the gun, right? Yeah, under the gun. No, under the gun.
Yep.
Yeah. Raise first in. Yeah, enter quiz. And then we can have a look. Can you choose 60 big blinds? Okay. Can you choose 40 big blinds? So we can see. Yeah, then you see like the pockets start folding.
King 10 off is getting in the mixer.
Yeah. 30 big blinds?
Now King 10 off has to be. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, also all the pocket pairs start folding. And 10-8 suited. You see 10-8 suited now is full open.
But it's also that there's different range viewers out there, and they usually differ within a couple of combos. So
for sure.
But usually to know loss in EV or whatever. But anyway, it just shows how important preflop ranges are, and some people out there think that using all these chart viewers in game is not cheating, but I think it just shows that it is, because in tournaments every preflop spot is different, and having pre-solved ranges in game is just super bad for the game. But also I think like within time pressure I didn't do this nicely, because someone in the chat mentions Jack of Hearts says ace deuce to ace 4 was missing in the right range, which should have rang alarm bells.
No, I didn't pay attention to that either.
Me neither. Yeah.
But this is the one where I have the most, like the where you have to select the range. This is the one where I have the most struggle finishing that in time, because there's so many aspects that you can check, and it's like so close and it's so difficult as well.
Yeah, you just have to focus on the relevant part. It's like a
And if
test
if you
efficiency.
Yeah.
if you want to practice that, you can also just click on the top right, automated quiz, and then either you can practice the respective ranges just for under the gun, or you can just practice all the tournament ranges also with 3-bets, defending versus 3-bets. If you want to warm up, just some pre-flop stuff. Yeah,
That's
it's a little
pretty
hard to find because you have to click on the top left and then on this icon. That's where you find the range viewer. But it's actually such a valuable part of the tool. It's like we probably have to make it more visible.
I like the start that you have the immediate
Yeah.
quiz for this. Is pretty cool. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
back to the hand, right?
Yeah.
One question from the chat to I am son
Of the fish.
You shouldn't worry too much about like if you fold deuces and 3 suited G or open ace 2 suited, like these borderline hands, they don't make the difference between a winner and a loser, I think.
Yeah.
Also shoutouts to Z-Maps, who apparently got this right because he said mid one pretty early on. I don't know if he saw the solution already, but probably not. So yeah, let's see what the next question is. I guess it's gonna be about the in position flatter. What's cutoff response to an under the gun open with 40 bigs? Red is 3-bet. We have all pairs in there because we're not gonna see that now. Oh, we are actually. Okay.
Okay, interesting.
So I think the right one is definitely not true with this linear 3-betting range. I don't see that being possible.
Yeah, usually it's about the wheel aces. Oh, but it's 40 bigs. Okay.
I think the left one is gonna be correct here.
Yeah. I think so too. Because the wheel aces rather want a flat, and like ace 8, ace 7 wants to 3-bet more often usually. But it's close. They are very similarly structured. So
I'm a bit
if you
hesitant.
play the
Sorry.
middle one, that's all right as well, I think.
I'm a bit hesitant on this queens and jacks 50%, which A, I don't think happens in my game, and B, I don't think happens in theory. I see myself flatting jacks there somewhat frequently, but queens is pretty. It's like a mix. Even if you want to put a label on it, it's like a mix between slow play and kind of range balanceation, right?
But it happens a lot in theory. Even like button cutoff, if you look at some 30, 40, 50 big blind sims, wow, you're flatting 10s, jacks, queens so often in theory. Because you even want to defend king 4 suited, you want to defend like, jack 8 suited, you want to defend your button really, really wide. So if you have all your strong hands in your 3-betting range and like the occasional aces and kings traps, you just get punished from the blind. Or you can get punished. You probably won't. But like it's so easy to squeeze against, and just basically the button is always dead money, right? So when you want to VPip a lot from the button, you should also mix in jacks, 10s as flat calls, so you also have a bit more playability, or a few more options to play back against the squeeze from the blinds.
For sure.
Let's say if there's button lows sitting in the blinds, like I might be a good guy like button lows or some other crushers, I would definitely mix it in because they can find some bluff squeeze spots.
Okay.
And it's interesting, it's even a flat on the button ace.
Yeah, even ace king off, right? Yeah,
ace king off.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot.
This might also be counterintuitive-ish because you think like, playing a shallow stack depth when you 3-bet, you probably wanna have the offsuit ace king off instead of the suited one, right? But somehow this is different here. But yeah, it just has a lot to do with.
No, the solver shows you basically that it's a pure equity game. Like ace king suited has more equity, so you 3-bet it. Because also most of the time you also get called. You get called so often with that stack size because now out of position basically gets to check jam a lot. The position advantage is not so important anymore, and just so much better to also occasionally flop the flush draw or backdoor flush draws. Because with ace king off, you have to play hit or fold, otherwise you just get to check back a lot of boards.
No, that's
so
true.
It's actually so much better to 3-bet ace king suited and flat ace king off, and then just pay ace. You can there's basically no flop where we fold against the flop c-bet, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's like 10-9-8 in clubs and we don't have clubs. But like there's literally no single board apart from these like very extreme boards where you're going to be folding against the flop c-bet, which already shows you how easy it is to play it post flop with position.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's see what M's next.
And believe me, I've been doing this a couple of times, and it's amazing how people start going bananas on ace king high boards or king high or just ace high boards or queen jack 10 boards because they never put you on ace king. And it's really good to sometimes have some really nutted hands on these boards.
True.
Don't want to drop any names, but I know my candidates that
you know your Pappenheimer, as Julian likes to say. What is under the gun's equity on this flop? We got 30 seconds left, Julian.
Like I said, yeah, I'm so bad at equities because I also don't have them in my aggregation reports because they don't tell me a lot. But I mean, this is a close one. We have a tight opening range and a tight flatting range. So I don't think 42 is...
I would go for the 55, just because.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because I think so too.
Yeah, but we're wrong. We're wrong. I was gonna say this because we are uncapped. Of course, under the gun, like obviously the cutoff range is way more defined and way more doesn't have all these offsuit shitty combos like king 10 off. But we just found out king 10 off is not in there too often. King jack off is not in there too often. So I thought, okay, then the fact that we are uncapped might make up for us having a slight equity advantage. But and we have all the sets.
Now thinking about it, 55 cannot be true when
it's a lot,
the ranges are somewhat similar.
It's a lot.
Wise at least, and all the nut combos are in there. So queens with a high frequency even. But I just thought because my rule was that like cutoff versus button across all flops we have high checking frequency, but UTG versus cutoff hijack we have at least relative to OOP c-betting a pretty high c-betting frequency across all flops, and that usually means that we also have nut advantage and equity advantage. Because I think this board we will c-bet around 50% or something, which is really, really high for OOP because it's completely different spot compared to IP versus big blind, where we basically have all these range c-bets on these kind of structures. But OOP, usually these are flops that we check a lot. But in this spot, I still think we bet a lot. Even though, But this hand, I think, this hand is interesting to bet.
We might get into like a pretty spicy, interesting line as well, but
I think it's also important that especially with the stack size, the cutoff starts flatting a lot of like these ace6, ace7 suited like 10-9-9. He's not free betting a lot of the suited connectors with this stack size anymore. So this is probably a very good exercise or homework for everyone at home to run this with 40 big blinds and 100 big blinds, of course with different ranges. But also this is probably good practice. Take a screenshot, then later on you can check the ranges. What are you 3-betting with 100 big blinds? What are you 3-betting with 40 big blinds? And you can really start developing this understanding of how ranges interact on different boards with different preflop ranges. And I know there are infinite amount of different possibilities, but like you will see patterns and you will start to recognize certain things that really help you to make decisions faster and think faster in game. So yeah, that's why like probably queen 10-5 or queen jack 5 board would be much better, but like just queen 7-6 is not that great for us in general, I would say, compared to other queen hijack high boards. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Thank you. Julian already said interesting flop decision for sure. Someone said easy check. Let's see what the next question says. What is under the gun's c-bet frequency here? Well, it's definitely not the 75. I think this is, especially after seeing that we only have 48%.
I mean the lowest c-betting frequency should usually be the right one in this kind of low 30, I'd say.
That would be what I do in game as well for sure. I mean, I might not even hit the 30.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any equity that this is going to be 45?
It might be 45 as well. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's counterintuitive because in this spot, it's pretty high c-betting frequency on flops where you usually range check if it was cutoff versus button or hijack versus button. But 30 seems about right. Like, if in doubt, you should go for a check. Okay.
That's not right.
I should trust my Ben. You said this. Trust your intuition. I said it's 50-50 on this flop. Sick. But it's usually like if we look at the exact hands, we select to c-bet or check and so on and so forth. It will usually be the right category of hands that we check or bet. So like frequencies is tough to guess, but it's still good to have a rough estimation. Because, for example, if it's a spot where you think like, okay, on these textures in that spot, I know from aggregation reports that it's 80% or something, then if in doubt, you could always just bet, right? But I think still, like when you think about c-betting, it's most important to have a clear plan with the actual hand that you're holding.
Yeah.
Okay. And then clearly c-betting a hand like king 6, no backdoors, something that will get you in tough spots for sure.
I think this hand is a check usually.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just realized you can also do the pre-flop range checking. If you click into the range, you get the option to choose different ranges of stack size. You can already check the pre-flop ranges. You don't have to leave the quiz. I was actually not aware.
Oh, that is nice. That is actually really nice. Yeah.
What do you mean by click into the range?
Like, you remember it shows you range 1, range 2, range 3, and then once you answer, like you can click into the range and then choose whatever kind of range you want to look into in order to assess your.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, click the replayer, not the range. Sorry, you have to click the player. So you click on the player and then you see. Yeah.
But this only works when there's a question for the range, right? And it wouldn't work now.
Wait, click on it.
Yeah, it says here hero and villain.
Yeah, click. Choose raise first in.
Maybe I have to zoom out. I don't see it. It should be at the top here, probably, right? But I don't see any raise first in. Maybe it's only when you.
Click the player. Click cutoff. Click on cutoff.
That's
weird.
It's a double click on that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one click.
Yeah, and then it opens.
Okay, this is raise first in. Facing raise first in from under the gun. So here we could have visualized the range again. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. That's quite handy.
Then you can click the hero picture.
Yeah,
you can do the same for your.
Oh wow, this is nice. Okay, this is really nice.
I was also going to mention this earlier. We see like the 7-6 suited advantage here. I mean clearly it didn't matter for our c-bet frequency because it's still really high, but 7-6 suited is something that's more dominant here. But it still exists for another gun, so I guess.
Yeah, you can pretty clearly see it because somebody in the chat says, Jack of Hearts says, can't imagine we c-bet more than 30-40%, having 48% equity and being OP here. This is why equity is not usually what determines your betting frequency. It's usually the nut advantage and the structure of your range. So you usually want to, like OP, high c-betting frequency, you want to have nut advantage and a rather polarized range. I usually don't talk like the term polarized on the flop, but because everything has equity.
For sure. I also don't like it, but it's tough to describe it in other ways. So yeah, nice to see that feature exists. Should we move on? I also think Ben probably needs to go quite soon, so we might have to finish this on our own, don't we?
Yeah.
But we'll see. So
we got 10-15 more minutes. Then let's get it done.
Okay, let's hurry up a little then. How often does cutoff bet after under the gun checks?
Cut off bets after under the gun checks. Usually that's like the highest cannot be true. Like
there's a question. I can't imagine we see bet more than 34% having 40% equity. But keep in mind that you still have the nut advantage, right? You have the overpairs. You still have all the sets. So like in general, you're very well condensed around the top part of the range. You just really struggle with the middle part with your king jacks and king tens and ace fours that don't really connect with this board. You don't have a lot of draws. You don't have a lot of playability. So that's why. But you still got all the ace queens. So you have a lot of hands that can go 3 streets for value. The kind of 3-betting sometimes ace queen. Huh?
Medium, Leon. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Medium, you think?
Medium, yeah, for sure, medium.
I think it's small, but I think you have more experience in that. Oh yeah, nice. I don't know. I feel like whenever I look into solves like this, it's rare that I look at cold call solves, but I feel like there's a lot of like pot controlling going on with hands like queen 10 suited that makes his
I
checks.
mean, to me, it's just a logical thing. Knowing that we see bet around 50%, that means we also check 50%. And that means that it cannot be that IP only steps 30%, because then we could see bet more liberally. Because one main reason why we have to check a lot OP is because IP will bet a lot and we don't get a free card automatically with our weak hands.
Yeah.
And so it can never be true that you check 50% or more and IP is only betting 30%.
Yeah.
Like these values go usually hand in hand.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
That's a good yeah.
And if it was 75, then we'd check range for sure. Because high stabbing frequency, 75%, that's always a function of having a sick advantage. And then we check range for sure to protect our king 6 suited. Or more so like our ace 3 suited or something.
Okay. Good that you saved the spot and didn't let me run into it. We see some spicy line being chosen by this villain. Don't know who he is, but seems pretty cool to me. At what percentage does under the gun check raise?
Wow. I know that these kind of hands do check raise with some frequency. I'm not so sure about the frequency. I just know that I'm pretty sure that king 6 of hearts is pretty much indifferent between c-betting, whatever size, check raising and check calling. Yeah.
This question would be towards our whole range though, right? So.
Yeah, okay. Wow, it's tough to say. Probably lowish. I mean, but it's all quite low. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to guess. I'm having a hard time trying to find explanations.
18, I don't know, 18, 10.
I would go for that as well. We just have to see. It's a 24. It's sick.
Wow, 24. Yeah. I mean, it also one shouldn't get, I think, too caught up in these exact frequencies. If you know that whenever something is mixed in the solver, that means that the difference in EV between all the options that are possible cannot be too big. And then the only questions we should ask ourselves in-game is, which line do I have the best plan for, right? Am I feeling comfortable check raising this? If not, then you should always check call.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be looking more into the out of position ranges now in the next questions, and that's going to be very...
Okay. What are our main bluffs for check raising this flop? Select all the correct answers below. I think the ace-jack backdoor flush draw can be counted out, because it's just counterintuitive folds out hand that we dominate, gets called by hands like queen-jack that dominate us.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the ace-jack I would discount as well, because I think ace-x do check raise a lot. The wheel ace-x always check raise if they have some straight possibilities. So these for sure. And king-jack, king-10, I'm not quite sure. I think they might also check.
Yeah, I would also go for both this time, and this time not fuck up the possibility of choosing to actually go for it.
I actually like that in the questions it's not clear that there's many possibilities, because I think king-jack with a backdoor.
Yeah, you can show the explanation. I think I uploaded
There's a video.
So our main bluffs, of course, want to have a lot of backdoor potential.
Yeah.
Okay. And B, also fold out better hands. So a hand like ace-jack, you're never really going to be folding out a better hand, but with ace-10, you make him fold his bets with ace-jack. He might be betting ace-jack and diamonds. So king-jack, king-10, also really strong blocker effects with blocking king-queen, with blocking queen-jack, unblocking a lot of his under pairs that might be stabbing, or ace-5, ace-4. We see here, we don't really want to be blocking pocket 8s and pocket 9s. So ace-5, ace-4, with all the backdoors are basically a pure check raise bluff here. And yeah, we don't really want to be raising a hand like king 6 because we want our opponent to be, betting with king jack and then potentially improve to a king on the turn, and then we're going to be coolering those king x hands. So with king 6, there's no need to protect, and we don't need to turn our hand into a bluff yet.
I like that there's at least some margin of frequency in the king 6 there. I actually want to go back and look at my exact. Okay, yeah, well, it's seems to be indifferent towards all the combos. I have to say one thing in my defense, where I did choose this exact combo in game because I recognize that I unblock all the backdoors while having hearts here, and I think it's somewhat possible that he continues king jack, king 10 backdoor at like some frequency sometimes. So I figured that we're gonna have some implied odds by having him continue these, but maybe that's too far fetched, and he's just always gonna bet fold them.
That's too far fetched because people are gonna be bet folding king jack spade. Like in theory, they probably call it. You're supposed to call it, but they're gonna be folding those.
Yeah.
And let's say if you call, and so often there's gonna be a blank. Like okay, if there's a jack or 10, it's pretty bad, but like then we just check fold. We have so many better hands we can defend with. Very often it's going to be an 8 or 5, and then he just checks it back with his king jack. So there are two chances where he's going to hit his king very frequently, and then you make a 2-pair. You can go for checkers on the river. This is really a goal. And we've seen also 6-5. I mean, this is not really a bluff raise, but like even 6-5 wants to check raise very high frequency because we have more benefits of protecting our hand.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Okay, yeah. I mean, I did think. Okay, we can say again. This hand was against Probius and Andras Nemeth.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there in game thinking, he's pretty aggressive, pretty sticky. But in this spot, I think you're right. You don't expect.
But it counts for all streets. Like your goal is probably also maybe later on turn it into bluff. You block 6s, get him fold a weak queen. But like
for sure,
he can easily call you down. He's like, oh my god.
I was
just gonna be calling you down with queen 10, and then you just.
I was just also going to mention that my explanation for having king jack, king 10 continue, I don't even think he does that, even if he is a sticky, aggressive player, because he knows that it's an underbluffed spot to check raise for me. So clearly he's still going to fold those. So jokes on me for thinking that's true, but I at least had some idea behind it, which I think is alright. So let's see what else is in here. What hands is villain supposed to defend against a check raise? Well, clearly ace. Yeah, so clearly again ace-5, ace-4 is not going to be happening. I mean, actually,
with back of flush draw for sure he has to defend.
You think so? Oh, okay.
Yeah, ace-5, ace-4 has to defend versus check raise 100%.
You think? You think this defense rather than ace-10 suited? I think this would make sense, right?
I think ace-10 suited defense as well. King jack suited with backdoor flush draw defense as well. And I think offsuit ace-jack, ace-jack, ace-king jack will fold, but all the suiteds with backdoor flush draws, they have to defend, Like you also have to keep in mind how sick your odds are. And Solver is check raising pairs that we have 6 outs against. So, And we have a lot of pickups we can continue on with ace-10 of spades or king jack of spades and so on.
Interesting.
But that just shows how good your check raise is actually, because I agree with Ben that these hands will usually bet fold. Probius probably not. Like I think versus a good player like Probius, I'd rather play a more passive line and check call this hand.
Also, you don't need to start battling against probably the best or like most aggressive, most sticky player on the table, because you keep in mind, you're not playing against him, yes, in this hand, but you play against the entire table. So I would not try to go too fancy, I would like maybe go for a c-bet, or just even a c-bet I prefer more, even though this hand probably doesn't want to c-bet, but like he's going to be calling ace-8 diamonds or king jack, king 10 or ace-jack, and then he's also going to be showing it down. He's not turning it into bluff too often. So yeah, I wouldn't try to get too fancy. I mean, I would probably go with like 9-8 and 10-9, where you always have a second barrel, at least flop and turn play super easy. But here, if he 3-bets you, it gets awkward. Like when he calls, like what are you really going to do on different... Even a king, he can have king 7, king queen, he can have a set. It's like, even if you hit your queen, like he's going to be on queen X so often that you also don't have a lot of implied odds on your race. So yeah, I try to keep it a little more simple against these very, very aggressive, very sticky opponents.
Makes sense.
But I mean, you also have to go where it hurts sometimes on a rec table like this. I guess there wasn't a lot of...
Yeah, but then I would pick hands that, I have my 9-8 suited, I have my ace-5, I block ace-queen. Like just a more natural strategy where it's like, okay, I sometimes want to pull the trigger. I'm not saying you should never bluff these spots, but like because if you raise your king 6, you want to be raising 6-5, you want to be raising your ace high, you want to be raising king jack, you want to be raising king 10, and then just you get so much out of line with your frequencies. And once they see that, they label you as aggressive, over bluffing, and then they just make the hell out of your life. So I don't mind to be aggressive against certain opponents, but just against the very, very aggressive ones, very sticky ones, try to, pick your hands a little bit more selective. That will also make your life easier on later streets.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess this is pretty much the input that was gonna be given in the explanation.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys, I have to leave,
right.
but there's going to be more explanation videos later on as well. I'm not sure for all of them because I thought, I'm going to be here and we can also talk it through. So yeah, but thank you guys for having me. I think for me it was a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
we should definitely repeat that in the future. So
sure. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah.
It was pretty insightful. It was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Leon, Julian, thank you so much. See you guys.
Bye. Do you want to finish this, Julian?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess, like, what's on, yeah, okay. So now it's just the two of us, right?
All right, I just clicked off the webcam from Ben.
Yeah, that's what happened. So, okay.
Okay, let's see how I played all of it. I mean, there was some, I played this hand somewhat interesting-ish, I guess. We check after the queen pairs.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard check. Like probably the card that we check the most.
Right.
After check raising.
And we see we see a step, which probably happens like really, really often. He might even range his. He might even block his range here potentially.
I mean, never for sure, not in theory, but
but
not sure if he does exploitatively. But there's also hands he just wants to check down, I guess. So okay, so. We need to defend exploits and spinning can still have all the.
Oh, okay. So this is a question where he puts in the term exploitatively, and I think pretty clearly this is where he tries to say how population won't have all the backdoor floats, and then we can actually start folding on a turn already.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure a defend, but I don't really like because it's a check call in theory. I think I can't imagine this is a check fold in theory, but that's why it's weird that it says exploitatively. Yeah, but it's like you said, he probably thinks that versus population it's a check fold, but versus Probius it's a check call.
Or maybe it's a double trick question, but we have to press folds here. Yeah. And let's see what Ben from yesterday has to say.
So first of all, will it need to be stepping all these ace 10, king jack, ace 4, ace 5, and also a lot of 10-9s and 10-8 suited, and then also calling a raise. Yeah, 10-9, 10-8 suited, I definitely see a point here. But ace 4, ace 5 suited, even ace 10s and king jack suited, it's very likely that people are going to be folding it against the raise, at least to a certain frequency. When we remove some of these hands, the turn call becomes very marginal, and if not, minus EV.
Okay. So that is what he was onto.
Yeah, because it is a call in theory, yeah. And exploitatively, then it's a fold. But versus Probius, exploiting Probius is to call, obviously.
Yeah, that seems like a rather obvious thing, and that is like a horrific river.
Interesting. I mean, I play. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's interesting. I think it's just a check call in theory, and I'm not going to make exploitative folds versus Probius, I guess. But it's also a spot where probably every 6 that we check call. Actually, yeah, we actually check raise the flop. So how much does he bet even? It's less than the pot. Okay.
Yeah, it's like 75%, 80%.
I was just thinking because after check call, now we have a snap check call down, and but after check raise, actually, even in theory, this catcher might be just an indifferent catcher or whatever. Like yeah.
I mean, we can look at
Maybe-
the question is going to be about this, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which hand is villain supposed to bluff? Okay, it's about his bluffs here in order to make it a profitable hero call with King 6 with at least 50% frequency.
Yeah, I mean the most natural bluff is now obviously the King Jacks with backdoor flush draw that floated the flop and now bet the turn because they block the King Queens Queen Jacks, which I think are supposed to check call.
Yeah, then the 4s and 5s are in there as well, which are counterfeited now, which he might still have in his range.
Yeah, 4s and 5s. And then ace 5, ace 4 for sure is bluffing as well.
Okay.
And King 10, King 9, I'm not so sure because it's a high frequency check call turn. So actually, well, yeah, they block 9 8s, 9 10s.
I had to do something. There were 2 seconds left, so I went for this. Is King 10, King 9 even in his range that often on the flop after we check raise?
I mean, I think so.
Because
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we skipped the explanation video because Ben did the explanation here in the Discord, so we couldn't see the sim, sadly.
Yeah, I think that actually King 9 should bet. It's always this tricky question, like for example, King 9 suited versus King Jack suited on the flop. Like, which is more likely to bet? King 9 suited has more equity maybe than King Jack suited on the flop because of the backdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And now the question is, do you want to check the backdoors and play turns on pickups, pick up straight draws, or do you want to bet and maybe that way not be able to realize equity? But I guess if we bet call King 9 of spades, if we bet call King Jack of spades, then we bet call King 9 of spades most likely.
Probably.
But it's still because I think that the queen on the turn is like a super high checking frequency, and that also our 9/8s or whatever that we check raise are gonna check call, or are they check jamming turn? Like if they check call turn, then King 9 is not such a nice bluff on the river because we block snap folds. But if our 9/8 suited check raise check jams, like goes for the double check raise, then the 9 is not a relevant blocker, and then it should check down. But it's close. Like, I mean, I can't imagine there being such a big difference in EV bluffing the river with King Jack suited versus King 9 suited if it gets to the river. But
would you think that a player like Probius is probably bluffing anything that could potentially bluff that he gets there with? Like if he has any 10-9, 9-8 type of combo still in his range? Or, you know, if he is sitting on King Jack suited, would you think that he... I mean, I would personally think the club combo we can count out. Like if he does block the turn with King Jack of clubs, he's definitely checking back the river, right? Blocking the flush draw is definitely bad. But all the other 3 combos of King Jack, for example, would you think that he always bluffed those?
I'm not so good in making assumptions, to be fair, because it might go either way. It might be a card where just nothing improves of his floats and he just shuts down completely. There's really people, if nothing improves, they realize they don't rep anything and they shut down completely. Yeah. And there's just people who think like, yeah, I have King High, I have to bluff it, no matter whether it's King 9 or King Jack.
True.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I just really think in this spot it's really about blocking the top range, our opponent's top range. So we really want to block Queen X, and that's why King Jack might be the better bluff than King 9 suited. But I'm not sure. I would have thought that all of these hands bluff with frequency, but the question was 50% frequency. Yeah.
Yeah. The point Ben is trying to make with this question, of course, is if we don't think villains ever bluff, ending up with those hands there anyways, and then doesn't even bluff the river, then we don't even need to think about catching. I guess the next question is going to be about our exact hand, because I'm going to explain why I might have called you as well. Also, Tim Thompson, thanks for pointing this out in the chat. He said you can switch to big blinds here if you click on the stack. So maybe this is easier to see now.
Oh
How much
yeah,
you bets and stuff. This is
so
pretty.
much
This is pretty
better,
good.
yeah. So much better. Nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. Oh, this is it's over now. So we get 70% now, which is definitely better than the last one.
Finally, but those were tricky spots. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why I usually prefer c betting or check calling king six of hearts, because it's just super not so intuitive how to continue on later streets. But you played it really well.
Well, I did. I mean, I pointed this out earlier already with my exact combo here with the hearts, right? I think this like has to be the best king six combo, or like one of the best catchers we get there with, because if he ever has those king jack backdoor floats in his range, or the king tens, the king nines, then we unblock all of them by having hearts. And I do think that it is possible that he continues right on the flop, even though he might think that I'm under bluffing it. We saw the pot odds, right? He only needs 23% to continue, and he's in position. So I do think it's possible that he slightly over bluffs, or at least finds the bluffs, and then king six is the perfect catcher, right? But
yeah, exactly. And the way this works versus population is to just call down queen x and nothing else.
Right.
Like, I mean, we cannot forget that we are in a check raise check call spot, and not in like a check call spot or something. But yeah, because I think that Ben is right that king jack suited, just folds the flop. King jack of spades versus check raise.
Yeah, in population.
But by the way, yeah, like if you get to the river, this suit is obviously the best to bluff catch of the king six suited combos that you get to the river with. You're right about that. But on the flop, it's not so clear. Like it's because EV wise, the way the solver thinks is usually that it wants to check raise the king six suited with the highest equity, right? Yeah. But obviously, king six of hearts technically has like the better setup potential, like you mentioned earlier.
But yeah, then Ben disregarded that thought process by saying that villain is also going to have king seven suited, king queen suited, and then we set ourselves up against those hands as well. So there are like some counter implied odds, some negative EV.
Yeah, I mean, one shouldn't just get too caught up into is this the exact right combo that I'm check raising or not, but knowing that it's close. The EV between check raising, c betting, and check calling is close. Like I said earlier, you should just go with the line that you feel most comfortable with.
For sure, I struggle with that a lot because I get caught up in this thinking a lot, and then whenever I do check a combo like this up in Pio, which we just saw in Ben's video, we saw that king six only has like a 3-4% check raise frequency, and the hard combo was the same frequency as all the other ones. So clearly my thought process was just irritating myself and getting myself on the wrong path, and should just stick to simplifying things a bit more and go for it.
No, I don't even think you were on the right path. Like the logic that you stated for check raising this was super sound. Like
good.
It's really sound. Like.
Well, I guess the point I'm trying to say is that the EV in the solver is indifferent, and that's like something I don't like to see, because I kind of want the solver to approve my play, so to speak, by showing there's like a bit of higher EV in this. But I do think it's correct. Yeah, having at least an idea of what you're doing is definitely better than anything else. But yeah, both the hands are over, I guess.
Yeah.
This was pretty good.
Yeah, those were really interesting hands. But I also think that check raising these kind of hands versus population, especially in wider range spots, is something that you could overdo a lot on low stakes and mid stakes, even maybe, because it has a lot of advantages. Like you deny equity. People for sure stab a lot on these textures, and they will overfold to a check raise. And you realize your equity way easier because people play super cautious versus check raise. So I think, especially on lower stakes, check raising these kind of hands is super nice. Like it's tougher versus a player like Probius, who just plays relentless, and it's tough to get to showdown with a single pair hand, and you always end up in these catching spots. But versus weaker opponents, you will have easier turn decisions after check raising these kind of hands, I think.
Yeah, it's super hard to deviate as well, because once you are on low stakes and you know they're not floating king jack suited, for example, you also have to shut down the turn so often, right? Because the range just becomes way too strong. And it's just really key to make those adjustments, but sometimes it's super hard because you're just guessing, right?
Yeah.
But
but that's exactly the logic. And then you exploit them on the flop, they overfold, but then you should be consequential and check fold turn.
Right.
But obviously, Leon, we are not check folding pairs.
No, never.
We treat every opponent the same, right?
And we can't be exploited by anyone, not even Probius. Clearly, this hand shows that. So don't try it.
Obviously, we will see who watched the whole webinar now, and we're not check folding turn versus you guys.
Exactly. But yeah.
Okay, cool. That was a nice session.
Agreed.
It's sick how we always end up, but obviously that's three people talking about hands. Then always it takes a bit longer. But if you take some general takeaways for these connected flops, especially, then it's not about the single hand that we analyzed, but about the whole spot, obviously.
Yeah, there were a lot of key takeaways, especially in the 6-4 hand where this leading on the turn, like you wouldn't even think about this earlier. So I think I got lucky that I got to play these hands against two really good opponents as well, and found them and could choose them for this. This was pretty cool. So I guess we can wrap this up now, though, right? There's nothing else.
Sure, yeah. One more thing, because somebody says like he had this fail to patch thing when opening GG. I think I have that sometimes, and usually I deactivate my virus protection shortly while I start GG, and then I activate it again. I don't know, that's the only thing that works for me. Sometimes it works restarting your computer 5 times, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's sometimes weird on GG, but maybe the guy isn't even here anymore. So yeah, let's just wrap this up. I suppose this was pretty good though. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Check out Paired. There's a link below in the description with a discount code as well. I'll see you in the next stream. Goodbye.
Bye.